We have a brand new segment coming up about Juan Soto. Now, we got a lot of, I'm sure, Yankees fans in the chat right now, all right? And maybe we have other fan bases, the Dodgers, all right? So let's get into the business of Juan Soto, the latest odds brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook. BetUS Sportsbook is the number one sportsbook on the face of the planet. These are the updated odds of where Juan Soto is going to end up. Now, the Yankees are still the favorite, but the Mets are now at plus 125. So if you guys want to sign up for BetUS Sportsbook, use the promo code YouTube150, and you get 150% bonus on your first deposit, 125% on your next two. That's all the way up to $2,000, folks. Definitely go check it out, and let us know in the chat right now who you got being the team to land Juan Soto. So we're going to bring in a great friend of mine now to give us his thoughts. Our baseball insider, Mr. Wardy NYM. Wardy!
How's it going?
Welcome.
Fellas?
Let's go.
So,
PD, my man, how are you? Richie, good morning, folks.
I'm good, man. I like the hat, man. You're sitting next to this guy over there that's delusional about the Mets.
Oh, I got news for you, buddy. Look at the hat. Look closely. It isn't a Yankees hat. It's a Mets hat. I got him. We got him.
Yeah,
Let's lock in.
let's do it. Well, let me introduce my good friend Tyler real quick. Tyler is the number one Mets YouTuber on the internet. All right. Wardy NYM is his @ on X, and you could check him out on YouTube. So we thought it would be a perfect opportunity to get my buddy Tyler on here to give us the latest news, the latest updates of where Juan Soto's going to go. The last I saw, Tyler, and I want to get your thoughts of this, Michael Kay said that the Mets are going to give Juan Soto $50 million more than any other offer. And that's what I've been saying here on this show since we started talking about this. I told Tony, I'm like, yo, I guarantee you Steve Cohen is not letting Soto go anywhere. He is going to make sure that he's a Met by overpaying him. And as of right now, that seems to be the case. So why don't you give us the latest update, Wardy, of what you're hearing?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, thanks for having me on, guys. Loving the setup for Wake Up and Ball every single day. If you guys haven't smashed that like and subscribe on already, following along for all your morning sports news here from TD and Richie, I highly implore you guys to do that. The latest on Juan Soto with the Mets specific connection front is as follows. Yes, we heard from Michael Kay of Yes Network over the past 24 hours or so that the Mets might be willing to spend at least $50 million more for Soto's services. And a lot of people have had an overreaction to that, should that be true, saying, oh my goodness gracious, Steve Cohen is going scorched earth. I'm like, while I do expect Steve Cohen to be the highest bidder in the end, pushing all my bias aside as a diehard Mets fan, just kind of putting two and two together with so many factors as to why this will likely be the case this offseason for the Mets. But in simple terms, $50 million more than the next team offering means essentially that there will be at least one more additional year on the contract. So when we look at average annual value, which is AAV, you know, your salary per year, along with the term of said contract, there's been a widespread belief since the offseason has begun, even well prior, knowing the Mets were going to be targeting Soto heavily for at least the past year and a half now heading into this offseason, is that the Mets would have the highest AAV and the longest term of a deal. So simply put, if the Yankees say throughout a 12-year offer of, say, however hundreds of millions it's going to be, the Mets will then respond with at least one additional year, if not multiple, and that one additional year is at an average annual value from anywhere from $50 to $60+ million, because that's what Soto's rate is going to be, because he's not getting one, anything less than $600 million at this current rate, and two, he's pushing north of $700 million at this rate for a guy that is, you know, a subpar defender, an elite hitter, and not a pitcher like Shohei Ohtani. So when looking at roughing up the market and then some for how a lot of teams evaluate top free agents, things may change drastically yet again this offseason, this time with Juan Soto.
I love it. Absolutely love it. I really think it's inevitable, and I've never had this much confidence in landing a superstar with my Mets ever. And I think it's more about just Steve Cohen, man. Steve Cohen. And we just had a segment about the Jets, and I'm begging the Jets to sell the team, the Johnsons to sell the team, and then it brings up the Mets like, oh boy. Doesn't it feel good to have an owner that cares and put his money where his mouth is and makes calculated, proper decisions? Right, Tony?
Well, this is what I'm trying to understand, and maybe you can help me, Tyler. Juan Soto, I don't know the guy from a humanistic standpoint, like the person, right? And a lot of people making this about money. Is it about money for sure for him, or is it about winning, or is it a combination? That's what I want to understand before I weigh in.
So it's really hard to evaluate this as anything other than monetary being the main focal point. And the first thing that we can look at as a reason for this is 3 years ago, Juan Soto was traded from his team that he started with in the Washington Nationals. Mind you, at that point, he had already won a World Series and essentially his first year as a teenager going from Double-A to the big leagues. So just to show you how impressive that is, that's a major deal to happen. And the first year after star for the Nationals and Bryce Harper signed with the Philadelphia Phillies on a massive contract over $300 million. Soto essentially replaced him right away. The Nationals won it all in that first year with him, and then the rest is history. Fast forward a couple years later, the Nationals offer a over $440 million contract extension to Juan Soto when at this point in his career, he's around 22, 23 years of age. And he says no, which leads Juan Soto to be traded by the Nationals to the San Diego Padres, which he spent the past year and a half up until this past season, in which he was traded to the Yankees, and he balled out massively as one and potentially only year there. So Soto is represented by a agent by the name of Scott Boras. And in case you don't know too much on Scott Boras, he is as cutthroat of an agent as they come. He is the upper echelon of top agents there in Major League Baseball. No one has a bigger name or status than him. He's the guy that's looking for the biggest bag on long-term contracts with talents, and him and Soto have been going back and forth for multiple years leading up to this point. This is why he's going to be getting a tremendous dollar amount on average annual value. And this is why Soto, who already reached his second World Series at just the age of now turning 26, yes, winning is important, and that culture is certainly an aspect to it. But at the forefront of it all, it's going to come down to dollars. So the big question is can the Mets separate themselves enough from, say, the New York Yankees, from, say, the LA Dodgers on lesser deal, but maybe a higher AV on a short-term contract, potentially the Philadelphia Phillies, the Boston Red Sox, what have you, that are going to do everything in their power to try to land him. Can the Mets pretty much just separate themselves to the point where this will not come down to a bidding war and this will be personal preference? Everything is aligning to look exactly that way. And
So-
before you guys have anything more to add here, I would just like to fill this in because I think this context is very important. 2 off seasons ago, the LA Dodgers did lateral moves in the offseason. So instead of being the big bad Dodgers that they typically are, like we saw this past offseason, spending $1.2 total billion in players in Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, 2 years ago, they allowed their star shortstop at the time and Trey Turner to walk along with other key free agents. And the reason why they did that is they knew they could sacrifice for a season, still being a top team out of the NL West in their division, going to fall short of winning the World Series, knowing that they were going to go scorched earth in offseason later for Yamamoto and Ohtani's services. They did exactly that. They won a World Series in year one, and they proved yet again how having a balance of not only in-house talent, but also spending big time will get you far, and that held true. This is the Mets now version of being able to do exactly that. Because last offseason, they made lateral moves. They didn't overspend on anyone. They stuck with short-term contracts, and those players far exceeded expectations. And this came after the Mets lost out on Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who at the time had never pitched in Major League Baseball, signed with the Dodgers on the most lucrative contract in MLB history for a pitcher at $325 million. The Mets gave the same contract offer that the Dodgers gave, but because Yamamoto already had a certain infatuation with wanting to play with the Dodgers and certainly with his countryman in Shohei Ohtani, who's quite literally the best player on the planet, it's hard to say no in that circumstance. So as we fast forward a year later, and with north of $200 million that's come off the books for the Mets, and Steve Cohen, who's far and away the most wealthy owner in Major League Baseball among baseball owners, that is exactly why everyone has been pointing and believing that this is a time that Steve Cohen is going to make a splash like he hasn't yet for this Mets team.
So I have a follow-up question. See, this is what I don't understand about all of this, right? If it's about money, I don't understand why any of these teams are up here. Like, why wouldn't he just select? Because we're getting into 5, 6, maybe even $700 million. Then why wouldn't he just go over to Texas, Tampa, and avoid state taxes? Like,
those owners can't afford that. That's why.
Well, the Rangers owners, the Rangers owner can
small
afford
market
it.
teams.
Regardless,
they don't got that. They don't got that cash, Tony. They don't got the cash for that.
Bro, he's worth $2.5 billion. He can make the investment, and they're coming fresh off of some successful years in Texas. So I don't understand how this wouldn't bolster them. The revenue will come back 2-3-fold. I don't understand why teams like that wouldn't be involved, because I feel like avoiding state taxes is going to save this man.
Yeah. So if an owner, let me weigh on that real quick, Tyler, and I'll let you get into your thoughts.
For sure. Because it's a good question.
Because listen, whatever offer that the Rays or the team with no state taxes offer, he's going to bring it back to Steve Cohen, and Steve Cohen's like, all right, so they'll calculate it. So that'll state taxes, I'll triple it. So no matter what you're paying state taxes, it'll cancel out and you'll get more money even by paying state taxes. Yeah, that's how – I don't think you realize how rich Steve Cohen is. That's the thing. $15 billion compared to $2.5 billion.
$22.2 billion is the
he's up.
Yeah.
22.
Yeah.
Whoa. 22. That's the thing, Tony. You don't realize these owners don't even deserve to be in the same vicinity of Steve Cohen. Any offer that they give, he is going to maximize it, even with state taxes or not.
So they'll give him $1 billion?
They won't give him $1 billion.
This is what I'm saying. There is a cutoff, bro.
There's absolutely a cutoff. And something to also bear in mind when it comes to player evaluation, you asked on personality. So let's just explain a little bit further as to who Juan Soto is from what we know in the public eye and what he seems to really care about. And there was actually a great piece from SNY that came out last night on how the Yankees feel good about their chances after having their first preliminary meeting with Juan Soto this offseason. But Soto laid the groundwork and said how, he needs to know that the Yankees will be able to fill in holes of other areas of their roster to make them better, to be a consistent winner. That's a heavy point of emphasis for him, not only on spending big, but making sure he's with a team that's going to consistently do their best to compete for a championship year in and year out. The Mets not only find themselves in that category, but on the financial end as well. And then this will bring me back to the personality for a second. What separates teams like the Mets, the Yankees, the Red Sox, and even like teams like the Phillies to the extent, surely the LA Dodgers, is that it's not only the contract investment, but it's all the sponsorships that come along with it.
Oh, yeah.
Juan Soto just dominated in literally the most important place to dominate his one and only year there potentially with the New York Yankees. He was the most important player throughout the course of the year for the Yankees. He was the most consistent player for the Yankees. He was the most clutch player in playoffs for them, not named Giancarlo Stanton. Aaron Judge was nowhere to be found when he's their captain. So Soto knows that he is a guy that loves the spotlight. He loves being on the East Coast. He is one of those players that definitely wants the eyes on him because he has a swagger to his game and his personality is very eccentric to showcase his abilities. Like, he's been doing this since he's a teenager in a very different way than a lot of other guys and their comfortability in Major League Baseball. And now you look at the prospect of him staying in New York for, say, 10, 13, 15 years. Yes, you're going to be taxed up to you-know-what, but you're also going to be given sponsorship opportunities that simply teams like the Texas Rangers, the Houston Astros, if you want to talk about teams in Florida or what have you, they can't even touch them. So
what a point there, Tyler. Tony, what are you going to say about that?
Separates the two.
There's no sponsorships in Florida.
Okay, listen.
Who cares about endorsements down there in Texas?
I'll be honest. Tyler, you make a very good, compelling point. I just don't like anything New York, so I hope he goes to the Red Sox over the Dodgers.
He's the biggest hater of New York.
I mean, that's
everything I love, Tyler, he hates. Okay, everything I love, he's a Knicks hater all of a sudden. He's rooting against the Knicks every day. So
is he a Heat fan, or is he just?
Oh, why did you tell him? Why did you tell him, Tony, who your basketball team is? That would be a great segue.
I hope he goes to the Red Sox.
Okay. Who's your basketball team, TD?
I hope he goes to the Red Sox.
That's a hint.
Oh my God! When did this start? Last season?
Oh, I can't handle the story of how this guy became a Celtics fan. But this guy living in Florida, rooting for the Boston Celtics. Man, Tyler, thank you so much for waking up and balling with us. It's been a pleasure to have you on to give us the inside news of Juan Soto. I think the next time we want to have you on is Juan Soto makes his decision and he signs with the Mets.
Hey, real quick, Tyler. Listen, man, just take this advice, bro. Stop hanging out with this guy, Richie, man. He's bad for your brand, bro. He's all this New York stuff, man. Come to the winning side in Boston.
Okay. Get me a nice flight to Florida and we'll hit out for a week, TD. We'll make it happen, all right? And then we can watch the Celtics on the beach. How about that, okay?
There you go. And then I can make you a Dolphins fan. Let's go!
Oh, man. He's a Steelers fan, man. He's living the dream right now.
I'm in a completely different room.
Well, hey, much respect to that.
Well,
Yeah.
Tyler, thank you again for waking up a ball with us. We appreciate your work, guys. Go check out Wardy NYM for all your latest Mets and baseball news. If you're into all things Mets and baseball, Wardy NYM is the YouTube channel to go check out, and check out his handle on X at Wardy NYM. Much love to you, Tyler. I'll talk to you later, my man.
Sounds great. TD, a pleasure. Richie, a pleasure. Looking forward to talking to you guys soon. Peace out,
Thank
everybody.
you, brother. See you soon.
Our baseball insider, Tyler
That's
Ward.
what's up, man.
I'm anointing that now. He has no choice now. Now he's our baseball insider. Sorry, Tyler.
That's what's up.
All love to Wardy NYM, man. He absolutely killed it. And yeah, I just can't wait to see where Juan Soto goes.